This is going to be your guided practice on solving equations for your end of course review. First, I want you to fix a couple of typos that were on your printout. So in the first box, there should be an X next to this -2. Make sure you fix that. There should be a square over on this last box here, outside of these parentheses. And then here there was like an extra parentheses for some reason, so you don't need that parentheses. So if you want to rewrite this problem without the parentheses, you can, but otherwise, we'll go ahead and start. So there are 3 different things that we're going to cover for the solving equations EOC review. And they're 3 completely different topics, but similar in the sense that their goal is to change, part of their goal is to change the equations around. So you have solving equations, and that goal is to get the variable by itself. And the variable could be any letter. So like this one has X. So the goal here would be to get X by itself. The letter here is N. So the goal would be to get the N by itself. For literal equations, typically we want to get the Y by itself. It just kind of depends on what the question's asking, but most of the time in Algebra 1, we're needing that Y to be by itself, so that way we can graph it, find the slope, find the y-intercept, all those things. And then we also have part of another standard that requires you to be able to convert from vertex form to standard form. So standard form, if you recall, is your ax squared plus bx plus c. So you're wanting to get an a, b, and c out of this. So let's start with solving equations. Prior to this video, you should have also taken your pre-assessment already to see kind of where you're starting. But we'll begin. So the first thing you want to do is take care of parentheses in this case because we don't have any exponents that we need to be squaring. And we'll talk about that over here. But we're going to distribute. So you always distribute from the front to the inside. So I'm going to be distributing this. And then over here, I have another set of parentheses, and directly on the outside is a 4. So I'm going to be distributing that. So that's your first step. Most common mistake is missing that negative that's on the number that you have to distribute. So we're going to go ahead and do -3 times 8, which would be -24 with an X. And then again, be careful with the negatives because this would be -3 times -2, which is +6. Then we're going to distribute the 4 over here. So 4 times -2x would be -8x. 4 times 10 would be 40. With the rest of your stuff, you're just going to be bringing that stuff down. Now that we've gotten rid of our parentheses, let's see if we can combine anything. And you always want to look at this separately, left and right. So here on the left, you're looking to see if you have anything that's common. I don't, because I have an X and I have a number. On the right, though, it looks like I've got 2 numbers that I can put together. So that's going to be the next thing that I do is put these 2 together. So we'll do 62 plus 40, which would be 102. Then we're going to bring everything else down. So those are gone because I've combined them. So now that I've simplified both sides, I'm going to do inverse operations. So that's where you're going to be moving from one side of the equal sign to the other. Let me put a positive on that 102. All right, I'm going to put all my X's on the left and all my numbers on the right. So first I'm going to move this. It should not be over here. It needs to be over here with the other X. And that equals -16x. And then I just bring everything else down. Now I'm going to move my number or my constant to the other side. And I get 96. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. And my last step is always to divide. So again, along the way, you just want to be really careful to make sure that you don't lose your negative. That is the number 1 mistake that people make. So here I'm going to divide by -16. And if you do 96 divided by -16, you get -6. So I want you to pause the video and try this one, and then I will go over that as well. All right. So after I go over literal equations here and vertex form here, then we're going to be checking this work because you may actually catch a mistake as you go with the guided practice. So the goal for literal equations is to get that y by itself. I really would prefer that this y be on the left because I'm so used to seeing it y equals. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Now keep in mind over here, anytime you had to move something, you had to do the opposite, which is the same thing I'm going to have to do here. The opposite of 2y is negative 2y. I'm actually going to set it off on the side because y's and x's don't go together, which means I have to bring everything down. I kind of have a saying, if there's nothing you can do with it, bring it down. Now I want that x out of the way. So I'm going to subtract the x. So that way it's not on the left anymore because the only thing I want over there is a y. So far I'm down to negative 2y. The last step is always to divide because it's attached to my letter. So I'm going to divide. When you divide one thing, you have to divide all things. And I get 2 here, and I get negative 1 over negative 2. You can type that into your calculator if you don't know what it is off the top of your head. Just make sure that you math frac it. You want to change that to a fraction. And you get half x. So now I want you to pause the video and work this problem here. Remember, the goal is to get that y by itself, and you want that y on the left. So hit pause the video, and then we'll continue. All right, so for converting vertex form, the goal is to get it to be looking like standard form. So I have an A, I have a B, I have a C. So the very first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this square. Most common mistake people make is distributing first, and you can't because you really need to get rid of these parentheses, which has the square on it. So we're going to take care of parentheses exponents. When I square something, that is multiplication. And when I multiply with letters, I multiply with the box. Now, the reason why I didn't go inside is because we're not factoring. We're multiplying. Factoring is when you unbox, so you're taking it out of the box. But multiplying, you're going to set it up like length times width, like area. So I have x times x, which is x squared, 2 times x, which is 2x, x times 2, which is 2x, and 2 times 2, which is 4. So what that did is take care of this square. I'm going to keep it in parentheses, this new answer, because I have this number on the outside. So what I got from that square is going to go into here. Everything else comes down, but what I got from the square has to go inside these parentheses. So x plus 2 squared gave me x plus 2, or x squared, I'm sorry, and then 2x and 2x, which I can put together, and then a 4. Now you can do what you've been wanting to do all along, which is distribute. So we'll distribute the 3. Just make sure that you distribute the 3 to everything inside. When you distribute, you're multiplying. And then I'm going to do similar to what I did up here in step 2, which is combine like terms. I want to reduce this down to where I don't have all these terms that are the same. So I've got a constant and another constant. I can put those together and you get 19. Everything else just gets brought down. So now I want you to pause and I want you to try this box here. And then when you are finished attempting this, then you're going to play the check video. So that way you can see how you did on these 3 lower boxes.